Hello and welcome to the Football Home podcast. Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to 2023. Thank you for all the support in 2022, and we look forward to hopefully making big waves in 2023 and getting more people viewing and going places. Let's get straight into it with a review of the weekend's Premier League action. We'll start with the two Liverpool games since they were first and last. On Friday night, they beat Leicester 2-1, and then last night lost 3-1 to. Someone help me.
To Brentford.
That's the one. That's the one I was looking for.
Harry, get it together, man.
Sorry about. But yeah, look, it was Friday night. It's been not the best weekend. Liverpool needed 2 on goals on Friday night to win. Yesterday they were just poor. It's just not clicking at the moment for some reason. What is it, Warren, that you think is kind of lacking at the moment that isn't really clicking for them? What is it that they are missing that they need?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things happening all at once. Um, I don't think Liverpool really got off. Like an airplane that has to go off on the off ramp that just has to take off. Don't think Liverpool took off this season yet. It's been just a lethargic start, and people were wondering whether the World Cup break would have done us much good coming back. We lost the Carabao Cup match against City, and then we got gone into the Leicester match, and it was just shambles. As a Liverpool supporter, I'm really disappointed. I am not really in the happiest spaces at the moment, but we have to discuss these things. And they just weren't. Um, they're not the Liverpool that we are used to. And whether it's because Jota isn't there, Diaz isn't there, Mane that's left. The midfield is aging. The defense has been poor. I think somebody mentioned that the work rate that the players have, it's like they switched off. They don't press as hard as they used to. Last season they were like on fire. People used to fear coming to Liverpool and playing against them, even if it was home and away. And now it's like it's like it's not clicking, like you said, it's not clicking. And I think a lot of it also has to do with Klopp's choices that he puts in. I don't for the life of me understand how he benches Robertson, knowing the pace that he's got. He benches Carvalho sitting on the bench for 3 games. He's not using him, and he knows the firepower isn't there. Nunes is trying, but there's a lot of there's this big dark cloud with a question mark around him as well. Um, and Salah, he's on and off. So some games he hits it, some games he doesn't. The midfield is the problem, I feel like, because the midfield is the center of the game, of the match and the team. And if the midfield is aging and there's cracks there, teams are going to exploit it. And I think a lot of teams, I've mentioned it before, have figured out how to play against Liverpool. Last season they didn't figure it out, but this season I think a lot of teams have figured out how to get behind our defense and then leave them vulnerable. And even though Trent has been upping his defense game, they're lacking in other areas as well. And it's the injuries, it's the managerial um, decision making. I feel like the work press isn't there. So it's going to be a tough rest of the season. They will have to win every match from here on out if they really want a shot. Because this kind of matches against Brentford and Leicester and these types of clubs, these are the games that they need to win, so that if they face a big club, then if there's the draw or loss, then it doesn't matter as much in the bigger scheme of things.
The thing is, as well, yesterday they could have gone top 4 with a win over Brentford, but it just. A lot of people think that Gakpo coming in is going to be is going to fix everything. He's not going to fix everything. Yeah, he'll offer something different in attack, but there's still a lot of problems elsewhere that he won't be able to solve. It's not going to be the be-all end-all. Look, there needs to be a massive overhaul of that squad. Realistically, you need probably another centre back to partner Van Dijk, 2 midfielders maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
there needs to be massive overhaul of that team. Do you still think Klopp is the right person to lead Liverpool forward, or do you think that it's time for someone else to come in? That Klopp has had his time, that now it's time for someone else to come in and change things and a different approach?
I don't think Klopp is the problem. I think Klopp is the right person for the job. I just think this season it started off very badly for us, and with the injuries and everything like that, the squad is very limited at the moment. So I feel like he's also pushing a little bit of a corner because the bosses of Liverpool isn't also cooperating with him as per who to sign, the money problems and all that stuff. But that's all great. I don't think Klopp is the problem. I think the squad as a whole is just not balanced enough. And it's very limited. And that is what's going to, because if you look at our strength in front is very limited. You've got Nunes and Salah, and then you will have to scrape off whoever's on the bench to come on. And so, like, he's playing his three strikers that he's got, to the 2.5 strikers, and then he doesn't have any other option when those players get tired to come on and finish the game strong. And you need to score goals, and if you're not scoring goals, then you're not going to proceed. So you can be how clinical in defense or how clinical in the midfield, but if you're not scoring, and I feel like that's also a problem. Liverpool used to last season every game 3 goals, 4 goals. Now it's like 1 goal, 2 goals, and they think that's enough, and it's not enough. And like we were saying, the Premier League table is so congested right now that any little mistake, this one match can maybe just cripple the whole top 4 race, because this could have been the match that we needed. Like you said, this should have been the match that we won. This, we went above Tottenham, top 4, top 5. So it's a bit disappointing. It's disappointing as a fan. It's very difficult for me to talk about this and stay professional, but I have to. But we need to talk about these things, and there is major problems. And if you look at other clubs, you look at United, you look at Newcastle, you look at you know um, even City and Arsenal. These clubs are thriving, and I feel like Liverpool is just, they are stuck in fourth gear, and they haven't even gotten on the off ramp yet. For me, I feel like, and there's only so many games left, so it's really difficult.
Yeah. Last night, they didn't even look like they were going to score last night. They just didn't have that energy. They were just down. Apart from when they did score, that was a brilliant ball from Trent. But they just lack that energy, and it seems like they're kind of they're deflated. They're down in themselves now. They just don't have the energy. And I know if Arsenal win tonight, they go 18 points ahead of Liverpool. So, that's pretty much Liverpool kind of out of the title race.
So,
18 points is going to be hard to make up.
Yeah, the title race I think is over for Liverpool. I'm not even. I spoke to Richard this morning, and I was like, I'm not even confident for the title race, and top 4 even is a challenge right now. So I told Richard we need to prepare ourselves for Europa if that is going to happen, and that's going to be such a disappointment because Liverpool is a big club, and you don't want, just in general. Any neutral will say that if they play Conference League or even Europa next season, it's going to be terrible. It's just going to be terrible. So I feel like in January, they need to, now January transfer market is up, and they need to focus all the energy on strengthening the squad as much as they can. And that's also going to be based on what the bosses of the club does, because they will need to inject serious firepower into this team in all areas: defense, midfield, and in front.
Oh, Richard, come and join us. Don't be a stranger.
Don't stop in the peanut gallery, Richard.
Stop trolling and come and join us. We'll move on, and we'll talk about we'll come back to that when Abu is back. But we'll move on and talk about the Forest versus Chelsea game on Sunday. Chelsea are another side that are struggling at the moment. Hey, Abu, we're just talking there about Liverpool quickly. If you want to give your
Yeah, yeah.
thoughts.
Please don't. Yeah, please don't jump without me saying something about Liverpool because I have a few things I want to say. Okay, Liverpool. Okay, now that I'm not a fan of United anymore, I have a very soft corner. I'm a general PL fan. Okay, but I have a soft corner for Liverpool. Majorly because that club, we can draw parallels with Real Madrid, sort of, because it has a past. It is a royal club. They don't die for the money. They're in it for the glory. So yeah, those are some things that make me want to love Liverpool after Real Madrid. Now, first things first, what Liverpool are lacking is midfield. Now, I understand having an aged midfield cannot be the only factor for you to say, oh, the midfield is bad. Sometimes older players can also do things that younger players definitely cannot. But I think what Liverpool have lost is their marquee, vital personality when it comes to gegenpressing. You don't see the players actually gegenpressing that much. You want to see it. Look at Trent. Trent is up right wing, and in defensive transitions, that's where Liverpool is actually being hurt the most because everybody knows Liverpool are gonna go high up. They're gonna pressure your back line, and they're gonna leave the defense wide open. Now, this is making even Virgil van Dijk really more vulnerable to everything else. Uh, this is also making Virgil van Dijk vulnerable to so many things, and I think that can only be fixed by getting in midfielders that are putting in work. Midfielders like Valverde, midfielders like Gerrard, midfielders like Kamavinga, Chouamini, people that are not afraid to put in that extra mile, people that are not afraid to work extra. So that's what I think Liverpool is lacking at the moment. And if it comes down to whether Klopp is the right man to do it, I think absolutely, because I think if Pep has been in the business for so long, and Manchester City has still been so difficult to beat. It's not because Pep is, an amazing manager or anything like that, but it's because he's getting all these new players that he asks for. And I think it is a time where some of these players in Liverpool are, exhausted. They're not playing up to their potential, and I don't think it's Klopp's mistake. I think the blame rests on the players, and Klopp, being the good Samaritan that he is, doesn't want to blame his players. So he comes up with lame excuses like the grass was tall, this, that. But I think Klopp is the right man to do it. They need some better signings. Trent is a horrible defender when it comes to one-on-one. So I think making him a right winger or a center midfielder would be an amazing option because his deliveries are just so amazing. It's just a pleasure to watch him. And with that being said, I think the Liverpool need a few signings. They need a few signings, and they need the players to put in that work rate. They need players that would die for the Liverpool badge. And last but not the least, when it comes to Darwin Nunes, let's be honest, the guy's talented. I've seen him play. He's pacey. He's good one-on-one. You can't catch him. He's good with the physicality you expect as well. He's just unlucky at the moment. And I think sometimes, like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer says, sometimes when you open a bottle of ketchup, it doesn't come out. And you just hit it on the back two times and everything comes pouring out. So I think with Darwin Nunes, that's what we're looking at. And Darwin can be a talent for the future. So I think Liverpool have lost their way, but they haven't lost their way so much that they can't come back like United or like Tottenham. I think Liverpool still have it in them. There are just a few more better signings, and building the team around the senior players would see a change for them.
Fair enough. Van Dijk got injured last night as well. Got taken off at half time, so hopefully he isn't.
Yeah.
His injury isn't anything too serious because that would be a huge, huge blow for Liverpool. I saw something actually somewhere about Genie Wijnaldum. Is he the kind of midfielder that Liverpool kind of need that they didn't really replace?
I would say so. He's tall. He is strong. He has that physicality in the midfield, so making him a very good center defensive midfield. And I think the players right now is also Gigi Wijnaldum can't be replaced by Gigi Wijnaldum, but I think somewhere down the line, yes, you are right because all the midfielders that Liverpool have are either old and slow, or if they're old, they're ball playing midfielders. So you need someone that can doesn't rely on tricks or something like that, and just plays a simple Cruise like game, Tony Cruise like game. So I think Wijnaldum is something they are missing. But no, is he the only person that would make things right? No, I think there are a few more signings that are needed to be made.
I saw something somewhere that Jamie Carragher said. He said, "I've not been watching the Klopp team for a lot of this season. It's a team that now cannot cope with the intensity of the opposition. It reminds me of Wenger's Arsenal going from a powerful and pacey team to a technical one. Defensively, it's a shambles." Any thoughts on that, guys, before
I
we move
really
on?
don't pay. I really don't pay attention to what these ex-Liverpool players and these reporters are saying. They're not the ones in the club. They're not the ones on the training field. They're not the ones giving the halftime speeches. They're not the one managing the team. So this is all about what they see and it's presented to them. Just like we are giving opinions about what we think is happening. We don't really know what's happening. So I really take what they say with a grain of salt. If Klopp comes in front and says, "Look, yeah, but now this is happening, and we need this, and we need that, and blah blah blah," yeah, then that's fine. Then I'll take it. Or if people in this does that, then that's fine. But somebody like an ex-Liverpool player that's aged over the hill and not playing anymore, a journalist that doesn't know what they're talking about because they don't know what the ins and outs are of the team. I really don't care. I'll take what they say with a grain of salt. Whether or not the general public does that, that's up to them. Each person is entitled to their own opinion. Um, there could be some truth in what he says, but like I said, he's not the one that's living at Anfield at the training center with the boys and training with them. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
So I think Richard made a nice point. Gigi Wijnaldum gave goals for Liverpool out of nowhere too, and that's what's not happening at Liverpool. You don't get random goals from anybody else. You can literally predict who's probably going to score next goals. It's going to be one of the front three. If not
Well,
Salah or Darwin Nunes, and it will be somebody else. But you don't see goals from experienced players like Thiago or Henderson. It's
yeah.
just the goal drought is it's
And if you
unpredictable.
shut down that front three, then you're not going to get anything from anywhere else, and that's an issue.
I sort of do agree with Carragher that Liverpool have gotten technical now. They don't use that pace anymore. So it's sort of like technical and experience. It's just like players like Thiago. Like yesterday when Thiago was playing against Brentford, he wasn't clinical at all. And a player of his stature, of his experience, you expect him to make things happen. But simple passes through to Thiago wasn't completing any of those passes. It's sad. It's a sad situation.
Fair enough. We will move on. We'll talk about Forest versus Chelsea.
Shut up, Richard. Focus on your own FPL team, please, sir.
If you have time to watch, Richard, you should come join us.
He's commenting from the peanut gallery, but he's not on to give his own opinions. Like, please.
Yeah, we'll
Let's move
move on.
on.
We'll talk about Forest versus Chelsea. Chelsea struggled for large periods of this. They were under a lot of pressure from Forest in the second half, in particular. They got lucky through a Sterling goal, but they're in big trouble. And I think the win over Bournemouth last week, I think, kind of just papered over the cracks. But I think that kind of says more about Bournemouth and where they're at the moment than it being about Chelsea being good, because they could have easily won that by a lot more. That 4-3-3 formation, or 4-2-3-1, wherever it is, it seemed like a good idea at first. It just doesn't seem to be working now. It doesn't seem to click. I think the front players just aren't getting onto the ball. Havertz isn't a striker. They're just not getting the ball up to that front three enough. They're not scoring. Defensively, they're okay. They're not great, but like that Forest could put them under that much pressure and should have actually probably won the game. There's a lot about Chelsea at the moment. Abu, what's your thoughts on that?
Oh, when I started out making my FPL team for this season, in the beginning, my friend told me, "Why are you putting Sterling on your team, or why are you putting Mount on your team, or Havertz? Why are you even thinking about Chelsea assets?" I'm like, "Why?" Because he's like, "This season, Chelsea are not going to perform at all because they don't have a striker. They don't have anybody that can make the difference." So I took his advice and I thank him. I thank him so much. But Chelsea have really lost their way. They have really lost their way. They've really lost how they're playing football. You know, the sort of football they're playing is just possession based and cross based, which doesn't really convert into goals. So I think if Forest, a team that are literally on the bottom of the FPL table, can prove to be a menace for Chelsea, then Chelsea really have something wrong. And as someone who really likes Premier League as a Chelsea fan, I think that's a great reason for Forest.
Warren?
Yeah, I watched this game. It For me, the goal that went in, that Sterling hit, was kind of a lucky shot. Um, it just deflected from his foot and he could hit it. But there was no other big moments in the game for me. And you expect something like that from Chelsea. They're a big club. You're supposed to have these big players. You've got Jorginho, you've got Mount, you've got Sterling, you've got Havertz, you've got all these players. But I feel like like you said, the formation is not going to work against every team. You will have to adjust your formation based on what team you're playing again. And a team like Forest that presses, they never stop. They're relentless with their pressing, they're relentless with the attack. They're gonna knock on their door, and I feel like Chelsea had to close that door first half already by getting like 3 goals in already and closing that, just closing the flood doors for so that it doesn't open. Because Forest is gonna look for a gap, and if they get a gap, they'll score, and then it's very hard to come back from that. I know because I watched them play against Liverpool, and they did that same exact thing. So yeah, there is problems with Chelsea. It's just surprising that a lot of people are focusing on Liverpool and they're not focusing. Not The talk isn't so much about how bad Chelsea is doing generally. When you look on social media, you don't see that much talk about Chelsea being really in a bad shape because they're like ninth on the log right now. I don't think Chelsea has a shot to get into the top four at all this season. Um, and their fixtures are just gonna become it's just gonna get they're facing City twice and then Fulham. Those are three big matches in the coming days. And it says a lot to me about Potter as well. I don't really think that Potter was the right person to take over for Chelsea. In my opinion, I felt like they should have given Thomas Tuchel some more time. And I feel like a lot of these clubs, these boards are firing these managers left, right, and center. You're not gonna get a stronger club just because you appoint a new manager. It's not always gonna work. You need to give somebody time. Look at Arsenal and Arteta. He did poorly at the beginning, and they gave him time. They didn't let him go. They gave him time. And look where Arsenal is now. You need to give that manager the time, even if it's because Thomas did well last season. They did well the previous season. So for me, it was a shock that they let him go so early coming into the season. I really doubted that move. When I saw that happen, I was like, oh, Chelsea's in trouble. And it's proving now because Potter went from Brighton to Chelsea. And it's two different types of clubs. They play two different types of games. They play differently on the field. And that transition hasn't really clicked for me. I feel like he doesn't know his starting 11 yet. He doesn't know which formations to play against which teams. He hasn't figured that out. And I don't think he has the time to do so because, like I said, these fixtures are coming thick and fast. So Forest getting a point over Chelsea is huge in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. Do you think Forest have a chance of staying up? Do you think that they showed enough on Sunday to stay up? No.
I think Forest is going to be like the Everton of last season, where it's going to come down to the wire. And if they can win a handful of matches, they can maybe just crack through. Because I have a feeling, I honestly think Southampton, Wolves, and West Ham are the three most in trouble, but Nottingham is in that mix as well. So it's going to be between those four teams for me. And then you've got the Evertons and the Leicester that's bubbling as well in that little spell. So like it's very congested at the end. If Forest plays their cards right, I think they can just slip through and get through just like Everton did last season and Leeds, and then push somebody down like West Ham or Wolves, um, or even Everton this season, like they did with Burnley last season. So I feel like they need to get more goals in. They can't just rely on one goal a game. It's not going to happen for them. Um, so their pressing is fine, but they need to get more goals. One goal, you just see them score one goal, and that they think that's it. They're satisfied with 1 point at this moment, and 1 point is not going to get you out of the relegation zone. I feel like so they need to up their game if they want to. If they want to, I would like them to stay up, but I don't. It's like a
Mm.
70-30% for me.
And I
But
know
you know, honestly
they have a
thinking,
big game against Southampton coming up on the weekend. That's going to be a must-win game for them, a huge game for
yeah,
them if they want to stay up.
you know what? Actually, I think teams like Forest actually deserve to stay on the top because these teams don't have a huge, wealthy financial background or anything. Because the moment Forest got money after getting um, promoted to the Premier League, they used that money to make signings. Like, how desperate were they to make these signings? And they now, I think the 11 players that they field every week are every time different. They're usually not the same players, and these players haven't really played football with each other before. It's like 11 wood pieces, fielded on the field, and then they're asked to get points. So I think every point for them matters, which is why even 1 point matters to them at the moment. And I think they deserve to stay, but if they don't change anything anytime soon, nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah, the goal difference is ridiculous. If you look at the goal difference there, it's like it's gonna come down. It might come down to that, and the goal difference is because they're also conceding a lot of goals. So the goal difference between the bottom four right now, they are worse off than the other teams. So if it comes down to that, they might be in trouble. So they need to slender that down. They need to get the goal differences up so that out of the negative because they're in the negative right now. So it's going to be they need to start scoring goals.
Yeah. Chelsea need a big window. I know they started to sign players. They've signed Fafana. They've signed a defender
Enzo
from
Fernandez.
Marseille. They're looking at breaking the Premier League transfer record for Enzo Fernandez. So it seems like the signs are positive coming out of Chelsea. But they do need to improve and fast. Um,
They also signed Christopher Nkunku now.
yeah, they did, but he's not joining till the summer, isn't
Oh, really? Well,
he? I'm not
it's all
sure.
the American. It's all the American fat burger money. So
Let me
Now, there's
check.
also a rumor that Chelsea is going for Mbappe. I don't know if it's true. That's what I've heard along the talks in the chats, WhatsApp chats that
it's
I am in.
unlikely.
But I doubt it's going to
For
happen. If
Chelsea,
if
it's
they do
unlikely.
if they do happen, if it does happen, I only think it's going to happen in the summer. I don't think Mbappe is leaving PSG soon. I don't think they're going to let him go um, for the rest of the season. So it's going to be a tough summer. But it's just a rumor for now. Like I said, I wait for that certain guy on the internet to tell me something that I believe it. That's the only source that I believe. Anything else, I take with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Anyway, next on to the next game. Here we go.
Spurs flopped against Aston Villa on Sunday afternoon. I didn't get to see this game, but it was just a
Spursy
Spurs
moment.
bottling it. Aston Villa actually have now beaten Spurs and United this season, so they're not doing too badly. I think they'll have a comfortable mid-table finish, but Spurs they've dropped now 5 points in the last two games that they've played. It's worrying times for Spurs. Warren?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I even with Payne there, I think they're still in trouble. Whether it's Conte or I don't know what's happening with Spurs, but for a team like Aston Villa to come in, and I mean I have to give the Aston Villa manager, the new manager, a lot of credit for what he's done. He's gotten now 9 points out of a possible 12 since he took over. So that's impressive for
So
me.
much
And
better than
Villa
Gerard.
showing that they are not to be missed with. This is not the Villa that was under Gerrard, 100%. They are showing they've got more bite. They've got more, oomph in their performances. And for Spurs, I just feel like I don't know what it is. They've got injury problems. Richarlison is not there. Kulusevski is injured. There's just big problems there. I don't know what they need to do to fix it, but this is now the second game in a row that they've dropped points um, in concession, and they're not the Tottenham that started the season, and they're not the Tottenham that ended last season. So there's a bit of question marks in certain areas there. Kane isn't getting a lot of service um, from the midfield and the defense as he did. Son is a big problem. Don't know what's happening with him. He only has the 3 goals that he scored against Leicester under his name, and it's similar to the Liverpool situation where there's only certain people scoring, Hoiberg and Kane. If you don't have those two people, then it's like, what's happening? Where's the goals coming from?
Yeah. Abu?
Good evening, my friends. When I am sorry, but yeah, I agree with Warren. Aston Villa are doing amazing right now. Like first they mess up with United, then they mess up with Spurs. Just two of my favorite things to watch. And when I went, legit when the season started out, Warren and I were discussing Spurs to be a contender, a possible contender for the championship. But then at the end of the day, we always forget that Spurs are going to Spurs. They're going to bottle. So it's sad. It's sad because a club like that does deserve to have at least one trophy in how much work they put in, but it's just sad they don't have any. So I think what happened in the game, I watched the game. What happened in the game was I don't know. Spurs look to play good, but then it's just something they lack each time. It's just the work rate, the top three are out of form, like completely not performing well. Because if you go back to the 2014 and 15 season when they actually finished second behind Leicester, you'll see that the front three were firing goals, and that's what's missing. Son is not performing at all, actually, which is such a sad thing to watch. Kane is not performing. All of these players not performing. It's just it's sad to watch, but I think that's where the problem lies as well. And if Jose Mourinho couldn't survive Spurs, if Antonio Conte cannot survive Spurs, I think it's a very difficult feat. It's very difficult to revive Spurs at the moment.
Yeah. I think the midfield is the problem. I think the front three, the likes of Kane and Son can't score when they're not getting the
Yeah,
right balls through from the midfield. That midfield isn't going to set the world
quality
alight.
of the midfield too. Quality of the midfield too. Like you're relying on Hoiberg. Come on, the man played for Southampton now. How can you rely on a player like that? No offense, he's a good player, but then the seasons where Tottenham really actually did well was where Ericsson was playing with them. So I think the Harry is absolutely right. It's the midfield, the creativity. There's no creativity in the midfield.
I know Richard posted a thing over the weekend, a quote from Conte, where he said that basically that the Spurs, that it's hard with that they need players in, but that the policy of Spurs is that they don't buy players, they don't buy big players, they don't buy quality players, and
Yeah.
that is an issue. Realistically, yeah, if they're not going to be able to get the players in, then how are they going to be able how are they supposed to compete? That's something that Daniel Levy needs to address. Really, if he wants them to compete realistically.
So this is what Conte said after he lost to Aston Villa, right? I want to be honest. I want to be really clear. I've said this to the club. I've said my opinions. The fans deserve the best. Maybe to stay in fifth is the best. Maybe sixth, seventh, fifth, or fourth is the best.
Like,
That's a
I
very
don't, I don't like that quote because as a manager of a club, you should be aiming to do as well as you can, and a club like Spurs should not be aiming to just get fourth place. Should not be aiming to just get Europa League. They should be aiming to win the league.
I agree, but then there are
And I don't
certain
know why
clubs who
Conte,
are
and
old
why is
school in
Conte
their approach.
saying that and not and sticking around? Like, if he feels like that's the best they can do, why is he still there? Why is he not leaving?
He gave
Why
this
not let
season
someone
another
else come
chance.
in
He
and try
asked
and
for a few
make them
signings
better?
as well. No, he gave this season the last chance, and he said if it doesn't happen in this season, and it's never going to happen. And it's I think it comes down to the mentality. Some clubs are very old school in their approach. They don't want to change things, and if anybody points that out, they take offense to that thing. So I think sometimes when somebody points things out about the club that aren't actually going right, maybe you should listen to that and change certain things. But I think it comes down to mentality, no?
I wonder why you're saying that, Mr. Ronaldo fan. Anyway,
But I don't know. I'm talking
we
about
will
Spurs.
we will move on to Brighton 2, Arsenal 4 on Saturday night. This was a bit of a cracker. Brighton put it up to City, to Arsenal even for periods, but they only started playing, I feel like, once they went behind. They once they were 2-3 nil down, that's when they started playing, and not before. And the thing is, they could have easily, if the goal that was ruled offside wasn't offside, they could easily have rescued something from the game, which is strange. Um, but Arsenal were clinical up top. They scored early and they made Brighton pay. Warren, I know you were watching the game.
Yeah. A lot of
Yeah,
people expected Arsenal to drop points against Brighton. A lot of people thought that this was going to be the game where Arsenal is going to crack. But they've just been so strong. They've been so strong this whole season. They're so, like Harry said, they're so clinical in all areas, defensively. Well, not defensively so much, but in the midfield and up front. And it's different people scoring. It's Martinelli, you've got Saka, you've got Odegaard being the creative juice that's just flowing the ball to the front. Nketiah's on the score sheet again. A lot of people thought Jesus being injured is going to hold them back. No, they're not. They've got all these strong players, and they've got the midfield reserve. Vieira's there. You've got strong players. And if you look at Brighton, it wasn't even the regular A squad players that scored the goals. It wasn't Trossard or Lamptey or
Forwards,
Lalana, or
right?
it was these kids coming from the bench and making something. Matoma that's making these things happen. Um, Even if they got that goal, I don't think they would have won because Martinelli scored just after that. So I don't think like I said, I think Brighton started playing hard too late. Second half, way too late in the second half. I just think the game ran away with him. Arsenal is, I think Arsenal's biggest test is going to be tonight against Newcastle. That is where we're going to see what's going to happen with Arsenal. This is going to be one of the toughest matches because Newcastle doesn't concede goals, and this is going to be interesting. This is going to be the true test for Arsenal. I feel like their fixtures coming up is a bit difficult. Getting that win over Brighton was crucial.
Is that comeback worrying, do you think, for Brighton? That the Arsenal defence is maybe a bit leaky, that there's holes there, that there's a weakness in that defence?
Um, there is a bit of a worry, but I wouldn't be too concerned. I think the only teams where Arsenal really struggled was against United. They haven't really seen, even though they do concede, they leak a lot of goals. They never seem out of it. Like they always find a way to come back. They're not like a Tottenham that only certain games they can come back in. They like always come back. It's the only games that they couldn't get back in was the one against Manchester United. And um, I think once Arsenal faces City and they face Newcastle and City, that's going to be the true test of the defense. The defense isn't the strongest in the league, but it isn't there isn't a red triangle for me yet when it comes to that. They do concede, but they do make up for it
Yeah.
with their power in the midfield and the front.
Abu?
Sorry, it's a little late for me. Um, Brighton and Arsenal. the game was amazing. I watched it. Brighton showed character, and again, it proves to the quality of Brighton and not to the quality of Graham Potter. So I don't know what Chelsea were thinking when they signed Graham Potter. So I just feel like, sorry for just digressing from the issue from the subject here, but Ted Boyle seems like the guy who came in with a lot of money, a spoiled brat, decided to look at a list of all the managers. And so, oh, this one looks upcoming and promising. You know what, mom? I want that. With his spoiled brat burger money, he went out there, bought the guy he thought was the greatest, without knowing anything about the sport. And it's not paying off there for Chelsea, but it's really still working out for Brighton. So I think it comes down to the player, and it does not come down to the manager. Brighton, they are finding goals. They are finding goals. They are finding character. They're playing amazing, and Arsenal as well at the same time. So Brighton versus Arsenal was going to speak to how good Arsenal are at a club to a certain extent. But the real test tonight is going to be against Newcastle, and then play United again, and then City pretty soon as well. So these games are going to be deciders for Arsenal, and I think at first I didn't want to believe this, but I think Arsenal are actually doing pretty well. Maybe let's just say it's momentum, or they do suck in the final third. Although Odegaard really makes the difference, but they do still suck at the final third. Uh, they're still getting goals somehow. It's like they're having what Mitrovic had for breakfast, and they just putting in their
Right.
leg or foot or whatever, and they're getting their goals. So Arsenal are in the momentum. Arsenal are looking great. I watched the game myself, and the goals that Arsenal conceded, they conceded it. The second goal, they conceded it towards the end. So after they went down, Arsenal against Brighton, they decided, you know what, we want to be back in the game. They showed character, got 4 goals, and then they sort of had a lot of substitutions and they slowed down, and that's where they conceded the second goal. So I don't think the second goal is something they need to be worried about. But Arsenal's defense isn't the best, and they are making up for it by scoring goals. So I think overall the balance is all right. Equilibrium is maintained.
Um, I feel like Arsenal haven't really been tested a whole lot yet. I feel like they haven't really played any of the big guns yet. They haven't played like the City, Newcastle. Like Warren said, tonight will be the real test to see how they get on. Because we haven't it's eased past everyone so far, and it's been easy for them. There's not really been too much test there. There's no one really. They haven't had to handle the likes of a Haaland or a Almiron, wherever. That
Yeah,
kind of It's going to be interesting to kind of see how they do once they do face the likes of the big guns. Because the first time they faced a real test against United, they failed. They lost. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. We will
thank
move
you for
on.
clarifying that, because when you said
Newcastle.
they hadn't. No, thank you for clarifying
Sorry.
that. I'm just saying, when you said, thank you for clarifying that, because when you said Arsenal haven't had a real test so far, I felt like you called, United a small club. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. We're going to move on. Newcastle dropped points Saturday lunchtime against Leeds. Um, Leeds seem to be a hard team to beat at times. I think the thing is with Newcastle, they're usually so clinical, likes of Almiron, Guimaraes. They have the quality in that team that they can create chances. But I feel like Leeds were very disciplined. They kind of sat back and they made life difficult. Difficult. I feel like I don't know, it could just be a one-off. What do you guys think, Abu?
Um, Leeds is that kid in the classroom that usually prefers to sit at the back bench because he's not interested in whatever's going on in the class. But then, when a smart kid is actually taking over the class and trying to be a bully, Leeds is the one that steps in, puts that kid back in its place, and then goes back to the back bench. I think that's the kid in the police in the class. That's what Leeds is. So when you see a team is performing good, put them against Leeds, and then Leeds will show them their place and go back to being at the last bench. They did that with City. City have had a problem with Leeds. Leeds also proved to be a problem with Liverpool. Leeds have proven to be a problem to Newcastle as well. So I think Leeds, when they play these big games, they come with one single intention. Today we're going to make them drop points. They don't care about themselves. They're not playing for themselves. They're playing to hurt the opposition. And when you got an attitude like that, you will get results. If not one, you will get something close to trying to hurt them. So yeah, that's what Leeds did. They tried to hurt Newcastle, and they completely were successful at that. But when it comes to Newcastle, they are still really tight at the back, and that's one thing to applaud. Have had the most clean sheets this season, even including this one, and it was surprising to see their scoreline because Newcastle always end up finding the back of the net, but Leeds also were determined to hurt Newcastle. And let's say it was stalemate because Newcastle couldn't score, but they did one part of their job correct, that is defense. And Leeds wanted to hurt Newcastle, but they didn't do that to the best of their abilities. That's why a draw. So I think it was a stalemate, and yeah, it was an amazing watch for like first 30 minutes, and after that, I realized we're not going to see goals in this game, so I just turned off the TV.
Warren, I know you were watching the game.
Yeah, it was kind of surprising to see Newcastle drop points, but in a way, you know, as a Liverpool fan, yeah, it was like, oh yes, okay, finally something is happening on top. They're starting to drop a little bit of points. So it's opening the door a little bit. But I hate 0-0 draw games. It's boring. It's just not really much to. At least it's very very entertaining. This game was a bit entertaining, but it also wasn't at the same time. If that makes sense. Newcastle had a lot of chances. They had a lot of chances. They just couldn't close the deal. And I have to give props to Leeds' goalkeeper. That guy this season has just other seasons they've been the club that concedes the most goals. But Melia has been on fire. He's proven that in defense he can make those crucial saves. And let's save Leeds and got him the point. I think Leeds is one of the dark horses of the competition where it comes to like the bottom half of the table, where you have to look out for them because if you don't prepare yourself for Leeds, they might just stamp all over you and gain some momentum. I wouldn't count Leeds out yet. I don't think they're in danger yet, but they need to carry on with that gusto that they've got. Newcastle, I think, will be okay. They haven't lost a lot of games, so they've only lost against Liverpool, and that's it. So they've gotten points for all of the other games. So this one loss might just be that it was a bad day at the office for them offensively, um, but they did the defensive part correctly. They got that right, and then another test for them is tonight against Arsenal. So um, I foresee a draw happening tonight um, between the two of them. That's what I believe is going to happen. But if there's a team that's going to win, I think Arsenal has the edge, just a slight edge over Newcastle. But let's see what happens. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, this game is going to be interesting for sure. And a draw would be the absolute best result for Liverpool and any other team that are eyeing the top four.
I think
We'll come
City
back to
also
that
wants
later,
them to
guys.
draw.
We'll come back to that later, guys, when we do the preview. Just
Yeah,
focus on the games that
absolutely.
happened. Um, Bournemouth lost 2-0 against Palace. Bournemouth's form at the moment is worrying. It's hard to see them staying up. I think they're in big trouble at the moment. Warren?
Yeah, the standards have dropped a little bit. I don't know. Ever since they signed Gary O'Neill permanently on as director, suddenly the form um, has been dipping a little bit. Um, Crystal Palace needed this win. They got the job done. 2 goals in the first half from corner set pieces. They got it in, and they just didn't give Bournemouth any way in, and that says a lot about them because this is also now Bournemouth's like sixth defeat in a row now, I guess. So yeah, the manager and the team really needs to pull up their socks and start finding out what's not clicking because they're going down a little bit of a slope. Crystal Palace needed this win, so congratulations to them. 3 points in the bag. and they needed this win. So yeah,
Abu?
Bournemouth are doing amazing. You have spelt Bournemouth wrong, by the way. But Bournemouth were doing amazing, and then now they've just sort of like, slowed down. And they're in the middle of the table, so I don't think relegation is an option for them. That's amazing, good. But Palace have sort of found their form again. Is that so? They scoring 2 goals. I mean, against the Fulham game. No, let's forget everything that happened before the Fulham game. But they're actually performing good. No? Palace seem to be on the right track. They have easily fixtures coming up ahead. So who knows? Maybe they're not going to be in the relegation battle anytime soon.
Fair enough. Fulham beat Southampton 2-1. Fulham are a dangerous team when they want to be.
Yeah, tell me about it.
It's one hell of a free kick though from James Ward-Prowse. I don't know if anybody saw that. That was
yeah.
something special. He's just a magician from a set play, from a still ball like that. He's quality. Possibly he should be playing with a bigger club, to be honest. I think he's kind of. I think it feels like he's kind of not. Trying to figure out the best way to say this. Like he's not appreciated enough because he plays for Southampton, and he's never going to be a big player because he doesn't play with a big team. Kind of like Grealish at Aston Villa. But yeah, Fulham were clinical when they needed to be. Punished Southampton. Abu?
Fulham. Who would have said Fulham would actually start winning games this season? Last season, they literally fought relegation. And out of the blue, Mitrovic has become a prime Didier Drogba. So that is the one thing to look at Fulham. And if you look at the Fulham lineup at the beginning of the season, if you had told me Mitrovic was going to score goals, I would have said no. Maybe you might want to try and look at Willian. He's probably going to be the person that scores goals. So Fulham are actually getting it something right. They're an average mid they're an average side that look like a very good mid-table team. Maybe that is what they're aiming for as well. But Fulham are playing amazing, and this also means a lot for the table because this game was something Southampton would have wanted to win because it was a winnable game and that could have kept them in the Premier League without having to get them relegated. But that's not going to happen. So Fulham are definitely going to be the team that will go ahead, and it was an amazing game. I didn't get to watch much, but it was an amazing game to watch. And Fulham do look really threatening on the attack. It's a wonderful watch to watch Fulham play, especially when they're playing against these teams.
Warren?
Yeah, I don't think it's a surprise that Mitrovic is scoring left like this. He got like 47 goals in the championship last season. A lot of people came in and thought, okay, can he keep up with the Premier League? And it showed him he does. He's slacked a bit since he got injured, but I think he's gonna pick it up again. Um, I do think Mitrovic is gonna pick it up. Southampton, I said from the beginning, I think they're in trouble. I think they're gonna get relegated. If I'm James Ward-Prowse, I'd be looking in the transfer window in January and see if I can hop up to a stronger club, just to get myself ahead. Because Southampton is going down. He's only got 2 goals so far for the whole season, and he's supposed to be the main guy, and he's not. And he was the reason for the loss as well because the 1 goal for Fulham came from his own goal. So um, Southampton is in a bit of trouble, I think.
I feel like the likes of Chelsea or United need to kind of try and pick up on Mitrovic because like they could really do with him. Like imagine the damage he could do with a decent midfield around him. He could be absolutely destructive. Like look at what he's doing at Fulham. If he had quality players around him to feed him balls, he could be even better. He could be Haaland territory. Talking of Haaland, we will move on to City 1, Everton 1. City dropped points. Which was Liverpool's two biggest rivals dropping points against each other. Warren would be in heaven. But yeah, look, Everton did a really good job on City. I felt they defended well. They bullied Haaland in a way, and they stuck Ben Godfrey on him, and they kind of had him kind of try and make it physical with him. But Everton defended really well. I thought they were kind of very tight. And they took their chance well when they had it, and they probably could have scored a couple more as well. A draw kind of feels. I think City just weren't themselves. Just I don't understand the City starting team. I will not lie. I think there's players in there I don't get, like why like Foden aren't playing, like Cancelo, Kyle Walker. Like you want your experience, you want your experienced players. But like City didn't do a whole lot. It didn't feel like obviously Haaland can't stop scoring. He scored another one to break all sorts of records, but it just didn't look clinical. Maybe that was because Everton made it difficult, and maybe that's the way to go against City. Kind of make life difficult for them. Defend really well. Don't just sit back. Kind of go aggressive at them. Go at them, and be physical and be, because City like to play football. So if you stop them playing football by being physical with them, it's a different game. Abu, what's your thoughts?
See, I am not gonna listen. First things first, we're not going to take away anything from Everton because they have been defending well lately. I'm not gonna lie, they have done good in defense. Maybe their attack still sucks, but their defense has been good. Yeah. When it comes to City, you messed up the spelling of City, Harry. But when it comes to City, I still don't understand Pep's decisions myself. Like, I was hoping that Cancelo might play because Cancelo didn't play the league. He didn't play the other cups that they were playing. And then, like you would expect Cancelo to start one of these two games, but he didn't do. And then Foden is not playing too. I'm assuming Pep has a master plan planned for ahead, which nobody knows about just yet. And he wants to rest these players as much as he can because City are going to have two matches this next game week, and that is going to have an effect. And he hoped that because Everton are on the bottom, any sort of team would have done, and this team would have won goals. He would have had gotten some substitutions in, rested some major main senior players, given them some rest, and used them when they play Chelsea and one other team at the same time for the double game in 1 game week. So he knows that the fixtures up ahead are congested. So he wanted to take a chance by starting a team that was not so experienced against Everton, hoping they would win, but that completely backfired. And Haaland was only there because he knew if Haaland's there is going to be a goal. And that's what happened. But that wasn't enough. So I think City messed up over there, sort of, but cannot take anything away from Everton, who defended really well. And so watching City lose points is always an amazing thing.
Warren?
Yeah, it doesn't matter how many records you break. You've got Haaland, you're scoring goals, and you've got all these records that you're breaking. But if you're not going to win the league, it's not gonna matter. Um, so Everton has been strong defensively. I will give it to them. They not just in this game, in other games as well. They one of the teams that is defensively very pristine this season. They're just not getting the goals in. So them getting a point against City is huge, massive, and I don't understand why Pep is playing Grealish again over Foden. I don't get it. I don't get why Cancelo is not playing. I don't know why Walker's not playing. They show him playing there with the camera in the stands. I don't know what's up with that. But Everton did well. Everton did well. They deserve the point just by the way that they played. They deserve the point. City needs to wake up because they're not as I don't know what it is this season also because they're conceding a lot of goals. And it's something they didn't do last season. So I don't know what's happening with City in the defense, but they're leaking a lot of goals. And it could be the difference between them winning the title or not because Arsenal is flying.
Yeah. And the final game, Saturday lunchtime, we had Wolves losing 1-0 to Man United. United were not their clinical selves. For whatever reason, we know obviously Rashford was benched. Yes, Abu, disciplinary reasons. You keep going on about it. But he came on at half time and changed the game completely. He was everywhere. I will ask about that second goal in a bit. What we thought about that, whether it was handball or not. But they were struggling, United. I don't know why. Maybe they were a little bit lethargic. Maybe they were just a bit tired. They have played a few games, like 3 games in a week. They just seemed to just lack something. For whatever reason, they just couldn't do much. David De Gea did have to pull off a couple of good saves as well, and especially late on, Wolves were causing United all sorts of problems. But I think Wolves' the problem; they don't have a striker; they can't score. Jimenez isn't the same player anymore. Not that he even starts anymore for whatever reason. It feels like an uphill task for Julian Lopetegui at Wolves because they just can't score. They are struggling there. But yeah, Rashford again, the game changer. Warren, your thoughts on the game? I know you were watching it.
Yeah, I think Rashford is the key to United at this moment. He's the key player. You've got Financial and you've got Martial. Defensively, United is strong. I feel like they've got the strongest defense, even with Martinez got the. I think Ten Hag has worked out who to place where effectively Casemiro and Eriksen in the midfield. It's working out brilliantly for them. But yeah, I agree. They weren't the clinical selves, and I don't think Ten Hag is binging Rashford anytime soon. Again, I really don't. I think Rashford has earned his keep. I think he needs to start every game for United. I do believe that this could have ended in a 0-0 draw if it wasn't for Rashford. So yeah, I think United got lucky. I think they got lucky with this win. To be honest with you, I do think it was a lucky win for them, but a win is a win. 3 points is 3 points. And at the end of the day, yes, Wolves needs a striker. They need somebody that's going to be. Costa's not doing anything. I don't know. He hasn't done anything for Wolves since he was signed. With Jimenez, I think since he got injured preseason, I think he hasn't gotten since he got him back. This was his second game. He hasn't gotten a start yet. I think he needs to start the games um, with um, what's the guy's name? The captain, Neves. He needs to start with him. The two of them together. They need to start. I think that's where the firepower is. So I think that's what the manager needs to consider. Who is his actual strongest 11? I think that's also a question that Wolves needs to sort out amongst themselves. I think Jimenez is the difference maker, but he needs to start. He needs time on the training field again, and then he needs to come in and play a full 90 minutes. Just to so that Wolves can get that firepower back, because that's one thing that they've been lacking every single season. They can't get the goals in, and they're bottom the bottom with not bottom, the 18th place.
What did you think about the goal that was ruled out for Rashford? Do you think it was?
The second one.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of harsh that they ruled it out. I didn't think there was anything wrong with the thing, but VAR. I'm not going to even go there.
I mean, I agree. VAR
Handball
is
rule is very
absolutely
tricky. Like it's hard.
Yeah,
Like because
exactly.
if your arm is in an
100%.
unnatural position, even if the ball bounces up off the goalkeeper like that, it's hard. Like I think they need
Yeah,
to kind of look at
I
it.
don't think it was a handball. I think that rule. They say the golden rule is that if it comes off your hand, even they don't care how it is, if it was deflected or whatever, it's handball. They rule it out. I think it's stupid because he didn't deliberately put his hand there to get the goal in. That's my thing. I
So,
think
so
there's
I
a lot
think
of gray areas. There's a lot of gray areas where this is concerned, because if it's done in a deliberate way, then obviously yes, rule it out. It's a handball. But I don't think he purposely went and said, "Oh, ball bumps against my head, so that hand so that you can go in." That it's like the movement of the ball. It's the placement of the hand. It was in a natural position. It wasn't unnatural. So I don't agree with it, but that's the rule basically. If
Yeah.
it comes off your hand or your elbow or whatever, then it doesn't count.
I disagree totally. I disagree. I'll show you why.
Obviously, you're
First
gonna
things first.
disagree.
No, I mean I understand that it might also be your bias because you have him on your FPL team, and so do I.
It's
But
not
yeah,
about bias. It's me. It's like, remember, I'm Liverpool. I don't want United to, to score, but still, a goal is a goal. And
I think
I don't agree with that rule. It's just, even if it was Everton, even if it was Leicester, I don't care what match it
I'll
is.
show you why I disagree, and it makes sense. After I finish, it'll make sense. Okay, so first things first, I don't think it was a lucky win because if you look at Rashford's goal, it was it was it was an effort. It was an A plus effort, and he really put in that effort, and he deserved that goal. And Rashford made that difference. So I don't think it was lucky. It was just 10 men plus Rashford, and Rashford made the difference. That's all I'm saying. And I
Okay.
may be wrong, and Eric Ten Hag might sanction disciplinary action against me for that. But the
Oh,
truth
shut
is,
up, Abu.
Rashford made the difference. Okay. With regard to the second, with regard to the second goal, yeah. Allow me to share my screen. I'll show you. Hold on.
Just close your.
Minimize it. Yeah. Can you see this? Can you see the screen?
No.
I've added
Oh,
it
there you
in
go.
there.
Can you guys see it now? Oh
Yes.
yeah, you can. You Warren. But look at this over here, all right? So now I may say the hand is not in an unnatural position, all right? If you zoom in over here, then you're gonna realize this here right here is not unnatural position. But when the ball hit Rashford, it hit him at a point where it wasn't clear whether it hit his arm first or whether it hit his foot first, that part of his foot, yeah. So it felt like the natural trajectory of the ball would have been hand down, and then when it would have come down to his foot, he would have had taken a shot. But the natural position or the natural trajectory of the ball after it hit his arm or hit his body was very difficult to determine. Therefore, you cannot determine whether the hand was in an unnatural position or not. So you see, it is hitting him at a point where it is really really close to his hand and his leg. Right? So you don't know what hit first. It could be that it hit his leg first and then his arm and then the ball went in, or it could have been the other way around too. So the trajectory of the ball cannot be uh, definitely said that this is where the ball would have headed. That is a gray area, and maybe to give a goal on that basis is very harsh to Wolves as well. So I think it's a very gray area when it comes to that because you don't know where the ball exactly hit first, and because of that, it could have possibly been that his foot is what his leg is what hit the ball first, then hit his arm, and then went into the goal. So scoring the goal with your hand could have been also very controversial, no? So they gave Wolves the benefit of the doubt, and that's why they took the goal away from Manchester United. In my opinion, that was the right thing to do. But if anybody else disagrees with me, I'd understand.
Just to say, just reading something here that says, whether accidental or not, the latest updates to the handball rule mean under no circumstances can a goal be directly scored when the ball hits the arm below the t-shirt line. That is the rule, apparently.
So below the
Anyway,
t-shirt line, yeah. So that
yeah,
is definitely not when the goal counts. But above that is still gray area. They haven't defined it. So above the t-shirt area, it might hit your arm, but if it's still a valid goal, the ball trajectory does not change because of your arm coming in the way, then that's okay. But if the ball trajectory you cannot determine after it hits your arm, then you never really know what your natural position of the arm would have been. Because in this case, you don't really know if it was the arm that directed the ball into the goal or it was your foot. Which one was
yeah,
it? So maybe
yeah.
that is why it was controversial and they didn't want to take a controversial decision, so they just disallowed it.
Fair enough. We will move on and we will review the games on the weekend. The games are scrolling across the bottom of your screen. I think the standout game, really, as we've talked about already, is Arsenal Newcastle. Southampton Forest is also a big game down the bottom of the table. That'll be a massive 3 points for whoever wins that in the relegation race. Chelsea City, a huge game as well. Abu, anything stand out to you that you want to talk about?
Arsenal, Newcastle for sure, and Chelsea versus City. Now we already know the winners in Chelsea versus City, but the most cutthroat, closest game, or most enjoyable one has to be Arsenal versus Newcastle. Yeah, just an amazing game to watch.
Yeah,
Leicester versus Fulham is gonna be amazing too. Leicester is good with the defense. United are good with their Fulham are good with their offense. So it's gonna be amazing watch.
yeah. Warren.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely, Arsenal, Newcastle. That game is going to be interesting. I think I've got it already programmed to go off when it starts. I'll be watching it. And yeah, City, Chelsea. That's a game they're playing on Thursday, and then they're playing on Saturday against each other again. So it's a little bit of a preview of the FA Cup match coming up on Saturday. And I guess the other game that I kind of want to see what happens is the Leeds versus West Ham game, because West Ham is in a world of trouble. Um, and Leeds is not to be underestimated. So those are the three picks for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Obviously, United Bournemouth is a big game for United. They need to try and take the 3 points there, keep up their momentum. Everton Brighton. That'd be interesting. Kind of obviously, Everton got a huge point against City on the weekend. Brighton are missing players. I reckon Alexis McAllister will probably be back for Brighton as
Yeah,
well.
he's back already. He started training with him already.
Huh?
He started training. He came back over the weekend. They showed like a preview last night of him coming back at the cup and the golden medal and everything. So yeah, he's definitely back. He's probably in the squad tonight against Everton.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting game. I feel like both sides have a lot to prove. Leicester Fulham will be interesting. Obviously Leicester are struggling a little bit at the moment. Can they get something back
Oh,
against
while
Fulham?
we're at it, Southampton versus Forest is going to be an amazing watch too because both of them
Oh
are at
yeah,
the bottom. And it's a must-win game for both of them.
absolutely. Yeah, I put that already. Leeds West Ham, like Warren said. Villa Wolves will be interesting. Wolves obviously struggling badly at the moment. Villa seem to kind of be a little bit revitalised. They didn't do too badly against Liverpool on Boxing Day. They beat Spurs on Sunday. The Emery revolution continues, I guess. Be interesting to see what happens there. Palace Spurs. Spurs are in an awful run of form. Can Palace capitalise on that? Yeah. Look, some big games coming up. Plenty to watch over the next couple of days. We will be back on Friday to review all those games and look ahead to the weekend's FA Cup matches. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Happy New Year.
Ooh.
We have not missed that. Thank you for watching. We will see
Warren,
you
you
all.
gotta say it, man. Do it for your brother. You gotta say so.
I'm not gonna do that. Not on a podcast. Sorry.
That's it. We'll see you Friday, folks. Goodbye.